I would like to invite you to join me for a tour of some haunted places in Wytheville. So for the next few little bit here, just lean back and dim the lights and hang on. We'll visit some of the most haunted places in the town of Wytheville, Virginia. We are at the Log House in Wytheville, Virginia. Now, this place was built in the late 1700s. It's a log structure. It's been here a long time, and there's all kinds of spooks in here from the Civil War time period, from the early time period, all the way up through the 20th century. So we're going to go inside and take a look. It's now a restaurant, but it's been an apartment building. It's been a single-family dwelling. A place, I'm not going to give it away, but a place where stuff has been hidden. So let's go inside and take a look. We're in the oldest section of the house. So this section was built in the late 1700s. It's an upstairs and a downstairs. And the fellow that we don't know precisely who built the structure to begin with. This is going way before the records were being kept well. So we do know that a Mr. Chadwell owned the place in the early 1800s. Now, we don't know his first name. His name, the people that own the house now, or the restaurant now, refer to him as Mr. Chadwell. What's amazing is we do know his wife's name. Her name was Abby. So Abby Chadwell and Mr. Chadwell had a little girl, and I would assume she was born right here. So at some point, the little girl developed a bad fever and was really bad sick, and she had like thrush around her mouth. Her mouth had broken up and was really horrible, and the little girl died. Well, now in the restaurant, in this room, people will come up here and you know, when you eat at the Log House, it's a very nice atmosphere. They keep it dim lit in every room. So people will come up here and eat, and they'll look over in a corner, and there's a little girl standing there in old-fashioned clothes with a broken out mouth. She doesn't do anything. She doesn't say anything. She just stands there. So when they get up to go and leave and pay, they say, well, who's the little girl upstairs? And that little girl done been here and gone. There's one other story connected with the little girl that we know of. When they were doing renovation work, they found a trunk up here, and it had a shoe in it. Now this obviously ain't the shoe, but just one shoe is all they found. So they set it up on the mantle here, just like these shoes are here. And they came into work one night, and the shoe's gone. And so they thought somebody had taken it or something like that. So time went on, and they came into work one night, and the shoe was back. And the shoe stayed there for a long time, then it disappeared again, and it has not returned yet. So they're still waiting on the shoe. If you eat here, the food is fantastic, and the atmosphere is good too, but I don't know about eating in this room. I think I'd stay away from that. In 1804, the next section was added on to the old house. And we assume that the Chadwells did that. Once again, all this has been lost to time. But we know that the addition was in 1804. So by the time the Civil War had rolled around, the family had been here for a long time. Mr. Chadwell was killed in the war. And we don't know how or why or what, but they brought him back home from wherever he was killed at and laid him out for the funeral. Now during the war, of course, you know, every available structure was used as a hospital. There were so many wounded. So this room here, and this was an outside wall right here at the time, this room here was one of the places where they had people operating on and recovering and all that sort of thing. So if you were unfortunate enough not to make it through the surgery or the recovery period, there were so many wounded, so many hurt, so many dying. So if you didn't recover, they threw the bodies out the window. And this, like I say, this was an outside wall, so they would throw the bodies out the window and then put them in a cart and take them away. There's a lot of cold spots in this place. You can run your hand and feel cold spots, unexplained breezes, sometimes just strange feelings. Not all bad, but certainly not all good. But something that's been around this long has got to have a lot of weird stuff attached to it. At the turn of the 20th century, the building was divided up into apartments, and by then there had been even more additions put on it. We're standing in what is referred to as the apartment, this back section, but there was a front section that was an apartment too. But apparently sometime in the 20s or 30s, there was a fellow living here that was alcoholic and very despondent, and he hung himself. And on this wall right here, there's been numerous talk from people dining in the restaurant of a shadow of a hanged man. And once again, no movement, just a shadow on the wall. And this section does feel really weird to me. It spooks me out. But there's been, employees have seen the shadow. Like I say, people dining, different times, day, night, doesn't make a difference, but it's right there. Now, I normally don't go into this personal experiences and stuff, but just now, as we were walking into this room to film, this door did that. And it was scary. I mean, it was truly scary. And like I said, I'm like Mark Twain. I don't believe in ghosts, but they scare me. But the funny thing about this is you think, oh, it was an air or it was a breeze or anything. There's no window in this door. There's no glass. So there's no real wind resistant. And it turned out they did just like that. And you get a weird feeling standing in here, more so than any other part of the house to me. I don't know how to explain it. It just kind of puts you on the edge. But there's, like I said too, you know, you've got a couple hundred years of people here, laughing, crying, good times, bad times, stressful times. And to me, it has to leave an echo of some sort. But I don't know why it would want to open the door. We're in one of the newer sections of the Log House restaurant, and on the other side of here is the window that they threw the bodies out during the Civil War. Now, as you can see, there was a lock right here, one of those old hook locks that went into here, and one of the employees told me they were walking through here one night, and that lock just spun. As you can see, it's not there now. They took it off. This room's a bathroom. And at some point, a lady was in there using the bathroom and realized there was no toilet paper and needed to get some toilet paper, and the door opened by itself while she was still in there. There's a lot of things connected with the Civil War with this building because it was a hospital. And there was also, I've never been able to substantiate this, but there is a rumor that a lot of Wytheville, the older buildings, are connected by underground tunnels. So when the Yankees were coming through the rumor is that they hid a lot of people in the tunnels. Now, Civil War soldiers. Also, they connected in a certain way, went to the spring, the town spring, so it was a way to sneak around and get water back to the hospital or wherever. But I've never been able to substantiate those rumors. I would like to hear from some of y'all if y'all know anything about it. There's a few more stories connected with the log house here, so we're going to check those out now. We're in the kitchen of the log house, and there has been several occurrences in here, but the most notable one had 5 or 6 witnesses. The lady was making dough for bread, and she took off her wedding ring so that she wouldn't get it messed up in the dough, and laid it on the counter. And when she laid it on the counter, it just picked up and flew off the counter by itself, flew across the room as if something unseen had grabbed it and threw it. And like I say, there were 5 or 6 witnesses to this fact. No explanation whatsoever. It was here, and then it was over there. We're in the bar, and there's not been a lot of activity in here, but there has been some. One night, about closing time for the bar, a group was sitting at this very table, and they heard singing coming from the other side of this wall. Now, there was no one in the next room. There's no way for anybody to be in the next room. But they heard singing, and they said it was very soulful and very mourning, like a spiritual type of song. And it went on for quite some time. And they just sit here and listen to it. They were, I would have been afraid too, but after a while, it just edged out, just died out. We're at the reception area, and this is where they keep the desserts. Now, they had a lady that ran the gift shop, a German lady named Helga, that worked here, and Helga died, and Helga loved coconut cream pie. And after she died, every time they would set a piece of coconut cream pie on the table here, something would shove it off. It'd be laying on the floor. And you'll notice there's no coconut cream pie here right now. I don't think they send it there anymore. I don't like coconut cream pie. It's certainly been a strange year for us in more than one way, but the log house segment that you just saw, the door that inexplicably shut while we were there, and then the segment, when we went back and watched it, there's all kinds of noise in there that we didn't hear while we were there filming. It came out on the video, so it's all very strange. But tragically, right the week after we filmed that segment, the log house caught fire and burned. There was a grease fire in the kitchen and rapidly spread through the structure. Thank goodness everybody got out safely, but it really damaged the building. So the Green family that owned the building went home that night, and of course it was a very long day for them. And when they got home, the darkness came on, and someone called and said there's lights on at the log house. So Mr. Green went back over to the log house. Now this fire was so bad that they called in Wytheville Fire Department. They also called in the Rural Tree Fire Department. So we had 2 municipalities there throwing gallons, thousands of gallons of water on the structure. So when Mr. Green went back to the log house and opened the door, he went in, and each one of the tables in the log house had a small kerosene lantern on for atmosphere, just little bitty lights. And he went in, and there were 4 of those lanterns sitting on 4 different tables burning. And who knows how that happened with thousands of gallons of water being poured in it. But we can take that as a sign that the log house, like the phoenix, will arise from the ashes, because the Greens have said they're going to rebuild, and I'm really glad, because that would be such a loss to this community, and it was such a landmark. So it's nice that they're going to rebuild it. So now we're going to move on to the Rock House Museum in Wytheville. I'm sitting on the porch of the Rock House in Wytheville, Virginia, which is now a museum. Construction was started on this place in 1823, and a family from Pennsylvania moved down, Dr. Howler and his wife and children, and they finished the construction on the old section. Then it's had a section added. So there's a lot of history connected with this house, and we're going to explore some of the history, and it's full of spooks. So we're going to talk about those too. So let's go inside. This is the dining room of the original section of the Rock House, and some of the original china is still in here. So this is all 1820s. We have a rosewood piano sitting here. A few years ago, they bought in a medium to get the feel of the place, and he said in this corner right here, there's a woman dressed in black crying. Now, there's been a lot of shadows figures seen in this place, and I don't know that they could tell that she's been crying, but right here in the corner, I think she's standing next to the piano, I guess. This is one of the children's bedrooms upstairs, and during the Battle of Wytheville, the Union troops tried to burn this house. This window and that window there, they threw the torches in through the window and set the floor on fire. And Catherine Haller, Dr. Haller's wife, was still alive at that time. They came up here with a feather tick and snuffed the fire out. And then the furniture that was on fire in this room, they threw them back out the window. So that's the only thing that saved the house. The burn marks are still, you still see a darkened section of the floor here, but they were redone, of course, to keep the, there were people living here, so they wanted to keep the house straight. So they sanded everything, but there's still a dark mark right there. This is one of the upstairs bedrooms. Now, the story goes, in 1863, Toland's raid in Wytheville, Virginia. Toland was a Union officer, came down with his group, and they tried to take Wytheville. Well, it didn't work too good, and some of the Yankee soldiers that were wounded were brought into this room. Now, the upstairs here has had a lot of shadows out of the corner of your eyes. You see things move and that sort of thing. And there was another time that when the medium was here, he said there was a man hiding in the shadows of this area, the whole second floor actually. Said he would just hide and observe people. And I have to admit, the old house is creepy. This is the stairway going up to the third floor, and this was the children's room. Right here on these steps, right in here, there's been a little boy seen playing. I said it looked like about a 7 or 8 year old. And this part of the house is pretty original. Hadn't been much changed on it. And once again, a lot of stuff up here moves by itself. We're in the boys' room upstairs, and one year when they shut down for Thanksgiving, this window has a slide lock on it. It won't open unless it's pulled up and slid back. So when they locked up for Thanksgiving, they slid the lock in place, everything was shut up. They came back after the holiday, and that window had opened by itself, wide open. Now, this place has an alarm system on it, so there's no way anybody can get in here without setting off the alarm. Well, that concludes our video. Hope you all enjoyed it. It's been a weird year though. The door in the log house and all the noises, and then the segment you just saw in the rock house. While we were there, one of the town employees and I heard a door open and shut. We heard footsteps. Of course, it all happens when the video's not on, but here's the weird thing about that one. A big part of the video I took did not come out. And this is the first time this has ever happened to me. There's nothing. The camera ceased working. I don't know. But we hope you all enjoyed it. We need to thank the Department of Museums from Wytheville for letting us go in the rock house, and the Green family for allowing us to get into the log house. It's been an interesting tour this time, that's for sure. So happy Halloween, everybody.